A warm welcome to Disky Talk with Luyolo. If you're tuning in for the very first time, I do ask that you please subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you've been a part of this journey, I hope you thoroughly enjoy this episode. So, on today's episode, I discuss all things Dstv Premiership action as I have a post-match analysis of Kaizer Chiefs versus Richards Bay, which ended 1-0 in favor of Kaizer Chiefs at Moses Mabhida. So, coming up then into this episode, the red team will represent Kaizer Chiefs and then the blue team will represent Richards Bay. So, it is key to note that this game was then played at the Moses Mabhida Stadium in Durban and it was a home game for Kaizer Chiefs. So, when you have a look at it then, coming up into this encounter, Kaizer Chiefs did line up with a 4-2-3-1. At times, it would be a 4-3-3, especially then when you look at the three-man midfield. So sometimes you'd have the double pivot there, then you'd have Nkosimpile Ngcobo. Sometimes it would change to that shape, but essentially it was a 4-2-3-1. So in goals, they did start with Brandon Peterson, and then at left back, they did start with Reeve Frosler, and then as the left-sided centre-back, they did start with Zita Kwinika, and then as the right-sided centre-back, they started with Njabulo Ngcobo, and then at right-back, they started with Solomons. And then when you do have a look at it then, going then within the heart of midfield, a double pivot then of Sitebe, Mart, you had Nkosimpile Ngcobo as a 10. Coming off the left-hand side, you had Sikhota. Up front, you had Billiat. And then off the right-hand side, you had Keegan Dolly. So when you look at Kaizer Chiefs then, with regards to how they started the match really, really well with regards to then how they kept the ball and how offensive and how aggressive they were within Richards Bay half. But what did that look like and what was their offensive scheme like? So what Kaizer Chiefs did then in this game is that they pushed both fullbacks up. So Frosler was there, and then you had Solomons on the right-hand side. You then had Billiat. You had Keegan Dolly. You had Sikhota. And then, so that is what you had a lot of the times from this Kaizer Chiefs side with regards to their offensive scheme. Whenever then they looked to have the ball within Richards Bay half, within the first half. So it was pretty much then a 2-3-5 offensive scheme. At times, what you would see then is it would also then pretty much then go to sort of a 3-3-4 offensive scheme. So ball side fullback, whenever the ball side fullback would have it, at times what you would see then is that it would go to that 3. At times, like I did mention, it would go to the front 5. And what you would also see at times then is that you would see Sikhota keeping the width on the left-hand side. And then, for example, then you would see Reeve Frosler looking to invert. So at times, you would see them then interchanging. Sometimes Sikhota would look to occupy the inside forward role. Then Reeve Frosler would be there. At times, Sikhota would keep the width on the left-hand side. And then Reeve Frosler would come in a lot more inverted. But what we did see then with Kaizer Chiefs within the first half is that they did create chances and they just couldn't finish off those chances. So the first chance then which was created was a ball then that does go in behind for Billiat. And he does shoot, but he doesn't manage to beat the goalkeeper. The second chance then does come from a corner kick, which goes all the way through, and then Zita wasn't able to convert. But what you did see then is that Kaizer Chiefs then did get a red card. So what happened then with Kaizer Chiefs getting the red card is that it was a corner kick. And when you then have a look at the rest defense, it wasn't adequate because what happens then from that corner kick is that from this right-sided pocket of space, what Makateng does, he's able to play a beautiful pass, which then finds Barnes. And when it does find Barnes, you do have Nkosimpile Ngcobo there, and then you've got Mart. So because Nkosimpile Ngcobo was not able then to cover the ground, Mart goes across, and then he does foul Sanele Barnes, which then does see him getting an early shower. So that's what happened. And then what you did see then is that Kaizer Chiefs, obviously then, because they did lose a player, so let's take Yusuf Mart out, they then had to change the shape. So their shape then had to go to a 4-4-2. 1. So that is the shape that Kaizer Chiefs had to go to, especially then considering then that they were without Mart, so they couldn't be as offensive. And when they did start the second half, what you did see then is that we did see Blom being brought on within the 49th minute. He did come on then for Nkosimpile Ngcobo. So for large parts of the game then, as the game progressed, what you did see then from Kaizer Chiefs is having to sit very deep within a 4-4-1 sort of shape, where then you did have Sikhota, you had Sitebe, you had Blom, and then you had Keegan Dolly, and then up front you had Billiat, and then you had the back four there. So that is what Kaizer Chiefs then had to resort to with regards to ensuring that they could manage space and making sure that they were compact and that Richards Bay couldn't really penetrate and break them down. So when you do look at it then, overall then with Kaizer Chiefs, with regards to the goal then does come from a penalty where then a ball is played in behind. Sikhota does get it, and then Mteto does step on his right foot, and then Solomon steps up and he takes a very good penalty which is driven then into the left bottom corner. So when you do look at it then, throughout the game then, Kaizer Chiefs had to soldier on with the man short, and they also then made a couple of changes as well. So we did see Ngezane come on as well, where then Kaizer Chiefs pretty much went to sort of somewhat of this shape is what you saw, and then you had Mahlati coming on as well. Then they went to that 5-3-1 shape. Overall then, when you do have a look at this Kaizer Chiefs side, it is a big 3 points, especially considering then that they did go a man down just before halftime, and also considering then that they had to bounce back, especially considering the type of performance they had against Mamelodi Sundowns. So that is Kaizer Chiefs then with regards to how they went about things. Moving on then, right along, when you do have a look then at Richards Bay. So when you have a look at Richards Bay then, coming up into this encounter then, with Richards Bay then, they then did go with... let's just fix that. Richards Bay then did come into this encounter having not lost a game within the Dstv Premiership and having not conceded a goal as well. So when you do have a look at this Richards Bay side, they did come into this game then with a 3-4-1-2. So when you have a look at the 3-4-1-2, in goals then, they did start with Salim as the right-sided centre-back. You had Abel Mabaso. You had Mteto as a central centre-back. As the left-sided centre-back, you had Mabua. And then the two within the heart of midfield as a double pivot. You had Matebula. You had Mhlongo. You had... you then had Zungu, who was playing as a 10, and then you had Makateng, and then you had Michael Boy Kumede, and then off the right-hand side then, you did have Sanele Barnes. Off the left-hand side, then you had Msani. But when you have a look at this Richards Bay side, how do they go about things? So within the first half, we saw that Kaizer Chiefs were more dominant with regards to ball possession, and Richards Bay then had to sit very deep. With regards to them sitting very deep then, they had to sit in... this 5-4-1 shape, especially then when they didn't have the ball. At times, it would look somewhat of a 5-2-3. At times, it could look somewhat of a 5-2-1-2 type shape. But they had to sit deep and ensure that they deny Kaizer Chiefs that space in behind and deny Kaizer Chiefs that space within those tight pockets of space, especially then when you look at the central channel and when you look at those half spaces, ensuring then that Kaizer Chiefs couldn't penetrate and play through them. However, in possession of the ball, what did Richards Bay look like? So with Richards Bay then, because they play with 3 at the back, they've got then the privilege of pushing both wing backs high and wide. So that is Barnes on the right-hand side, and then that is Msani on the left-hand side. And then you do have the 2 strikers who'd go there, and then you'd have Nkanyiso Zungu there, and then you'd have the 2, and then you have the 3. So for large parts of how Richards Bay were trying to go about things with regards to their offensive scheme and their offensive shape. That's what you did see. So Zungu would drop a bit deeper, you know. So you would see pretty much then a 3-3-4 offensive scheme. But when Kaizer Chiefs then did go a man down, Richards Bay then obviously had to make changes and try push numbers and try then ensure that they can then get that goal. So we did see Luvuyo Memela coming in when you do have a look at it, we also saw Dabuga also coming into the heart of midfield. So what they did then is that they became ultra offensive, because now they were really trying to break them down. So what you did see then from this Richards Bay side is that they went to somewhat of that shape where it was a 3-1-6, where they had 6 within the front line, within the final third, with the 2 wing backs high and wide. And we also did see then that the one chance that they created where they managed to get a shot on target is a cross that comes from this side, where Memela plays it into the back post, and then you've got Sanele Barnes who sneaks up. He heads it into the bottom corner, but Peterson was able to make a save. Overall then, when you do have a look at this Richards Bay side, I would say that they were very good in possession of the ball with regards to how they were looking to move the ball. But their biggest problem then is final third penetration and creating clear-cut chances. They really struggled from that regard. So when you do look at them then in build-up phase and in consolidation phase, they look very good with regards to how they look to play the ball and how they look to progress the ball. The 2 wing backs with regards to offering them width, they look good from that regard. But within the final third, this is where Richards Bay really struggle to fashion those clear-cut chances. And also then when it comes then to ensuring that they could penetrate this Kaizer Chiefs side, and I think then they'll be disappointed, especially considering then that they couldn't break down a Kaizer Chiefs side which was then 1 man short. Overall then, when you do look at the game then, Kaizer Chiefs then will be happy with the 3 points that they picked up, especially considering the type of performance they had against Mamelodi Sundowns. Kaizer Chiefs then started off the game really well with regards to how they kept the ball and how then they were able to create a couple of chances within the first half. It's just that they were not as clinical. But as soon as they lost Yusuf Mart, it was very important then that they were able then to become tactically and defensively organized and ensure that they at least get 1 goal and see out the game. With Richards Bay, they looked very good, especially then when they started to control the game. When Yusuf Mart went off, they were very offensive, but they just couldn't create enough clear-cut chances, and they couldn't penetrate into the final third where then they could get shots on target. So, ladies and gentlemen, then, the game does end 1-0 in favor of Kaizer Chiefs at Moses Mabhida in Durban. So, it is then Dstv Premiership action as we witnessed Kaizer Chiefs winning 1-0 against Richards Bay. Babi Zebonke, signing out.